الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters, this is lesson number 4 of our commentary on Al-Murshid Al-Mu'in على الضروري من علوم الدين by Imam Abdul Wahid ibn Ashir rahimahullah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And we've reached today to the things that break the wudu, where Imam Ibn Ashir rahimahullah mentioned them saying فصل النواقض الوضوء 16 or فصل النواقضه it's نواقض الوضوء 16 نواقض الوضوء 16 بلو ريح سلس إذا ندر وغائط منثقل ودي أو غائط منثقل مذي سكر وإغماء جنون ودي لمس وقبلة وذاء وجدت لذة عادة كذا إن قصدت إلطاف مرأة كذا مس الذكر والشك في الحداث كفر من كفر. These are 16 things that nullify the wudu. And our scholars normally split them to 2 categories. The first category is the things that nullify the wudu by themselves. And the second category are the things that nullify the wudu because they lead to these things that nullify wudu. So normally they don't nullify the wudu by themselves, but they lead to these. And because the Sharia is built on the big probabilities, so therefore it considers high probabilities and rejects low probabilities. So for example, when you are traveling in any journey and it's going to make you get tired, you're allowed to summarize the prayer to 2 rak'ahs instead of 4 rak'ahs, and to eat instead of fasting in Ramadan. Although some people can travel without feeling any tired. So they're without feeling tired, I mean. But the Sharia takes the big probability. When normally people, when they travel, they get tired. So therefore, when you sleep, it's normal that things get loose. Your body get loose. So you might break wind. You might do anything else. And when you touch your private parts, that might lead to make you excited, and that might make something go out of you. So therefore, that's considered as something that nullifies. Well, the same thing when you touch the other sex, man touching woman or woman touching man. So that's why they consider them as reasons that lead to things that nullify the wudu, although maybe nothing would happen actually. So therefore, let us see what are these things that nullify the wudu. He says that the things which break the wudu are 16 in number. First thing, urinating. That means urinating, peeing, in other words, actually. And this is something that is agreeable by all scholars. No scholar says that you can just urine and you're still on your wudu. The second thing is breaking wind. And this is actually something agreeable by all scholars. And no matter the wind is with a voice or without a voice, actually. Breaking wind is no matter it's with voice or without any voice. It's considered as something that nullifies your wudu. And then he says, in continence of infrequence. What does this mean? Now you can have somebody that cannot control his urine. It keeps on just coming down. And he's sick, so he can't control it. So it comes if he wants or he doesn't want. The same thing. You can find that some women that are always bleeding. You can find somebody that always discharges the pre-semen. So all these things, even the semen, can happen to the semen as well. Or he always breaks wind and he can't control himself. The wind just goes out without his permission. So therefore, if this was most of the time, therefore it doesn't break the wudu. It doesn't nullify the wudu. Even if it happens and you're praying, it doesn't nullify your wudu. But if it happens rarely, therefore it nullifies the wudu. That's why he says incontinence if infrequent. Incontinence if infrequent. Yani, salas is incontinence. إذا nadar, that means rarely happens. Then he says, وغائط نوم ثقيل مذي سكر وإغماء جنون ودي. The defecating, this is something agreeable by all scholars. This is something agreeable by all scholars. What about incontinence if infrequent? If it's frequent, if it's always, Malikis say it is permissible for you or preferable for you to do wudu before praying. And if you pray and it keeps on going down, that doesn't affect your prayer. This is the opinion of the Malikis. But if it happens rarely, therefore it nullifies your wudu. Now, for sleeping, for defecating, it's agreeable between all Muslims that it nullifies your wudu. Deep sleep. What is deep sleep? Deep sleep is in several cases. If you sleep and something falls from your hand and you didn't pay attention to it. If you sleep and your saliva leaks from your mouth and you didn't pay attention. If somebody speaks to you and he's close to you, he says so-and-so, so-and-so, and you don't even pay attention to him. So that's a deep sleep, actually. That means it would lead to that you might break wind and you don't feel it. And you might scratch your private parts and you won't feel that. So actually, that means it's a reason that leads to something that nullifies your wudu. So if you sleep, a deep sleep, that nullifies your wudu. If it's not deep sleep and it's short, you don't have to make your wudu again. If it's short, if it's long and it's not deep, so you're listening, you hear, but you're asleep, so it is permissible or preferable for you to make your wudu again, but it's not obligatory. Okay? Discharge of medhi, thin pre-seminal fluid. It happens when you get excited. For example, you touch your wife, you kiss her, or you heard a sexual story or something like that. You got excited sexually, and it happens to the female more than the male, or quickly more than the male. So that's why they have to pay attention to this more than males, because males, sometimes they can control themselves in these types of things. But the females, they just, if they get excited, things start leaking and they don't pay attention to it. So you have to know that it happens to male and female. Both of them have this seminal fluid. Okay? So this nullifies wudu, and it's something that is agreeable by all scholars. Okay, now all these three things that I'm going to mention, intoxication, fainting, and madness or discharge of, forget about that. This is that you are out of conscience. Sleeping, deep sleep nullifies your wudu. Therefore, if you're out of conscience, that means that would be more. That would expecting that something would happen to you. And if you drink something and get drunk, scholars say even if you didn't need it. For example, you had juice in your fridge and it got intoxicated in a way or another, and you drank it, although all of a sudden you went out of conscious, you got drunk. So, or you drank milk, for example, not milk. This type of milk that it becomes intoxicated you didn't pay attention to that. So that's why they say Scholars say إذا سكر بمباح. That means you became drunk, but with something that you didn't mean to do something haram. So that nullifies wudu as well. So both of them nullify your wudu. No matter you did it by intention or you did it not by intention. Okay? Okay. Now, if somebody's mad, crazy, therefore he's crazy, he's out of conscience actually, so there's no wudu until he becomes, so if he gets cure from his madness, he has to make wudu again to pray his prayers. Thicker flood, discharge after you. What is this type of flood? This doesn't have anything to do with sex or getting excited. It happens from time to time, and maybe it happens when you feel when the weather's cold or something like that. You go to the bathroom, and usually it happens after urinating. So it's thick. So some ignorant people think that it's so therefore, this actually, it's you are out of when you urine, you're not actually you are not mutawaddi. You're not mutawaddi. You're not in a case of wudu. This so that you know that this is not actually siman. This is actually something that goes out, and it's not siman. What is the difference between and siman? Although both of them are similar to each other, actually it doesn't have anything to do with sex. That's it. So you're not excited at all. It just goes out. So that's considered as, and it's more wider than siman actually. It's more wider than siman. Okay? Then he says, لمسو وقبلة وذا وجدت لذات عادة كذا إن قصدت. Touching a woman or a woman touching a man, and kissing if sexual pleasure is experienced or intended. What is this? We have several cases. A sex and another sex. Man to woman, woman to man. If you intended to touch so that you would feel pleasure, you will have pleasure, no matter she's your wife and that's halal, or she's not your wife and that's haram. Or he's your husband, or he's not your husband. If your husband, that's normal. You might even get rewarded for that. But if it's a foreign person, that's haram. So therefore, if that happens, therefore, if you touch by intention, or when you touched, you felt excited, in this case, the wudu gets nullified. But if you touch without feeling anything and without having any intention, that doesn't nullify your wudu. Although it's haram if she was a foreign woman or he was a foreign man in the other case, and that's like shaking hands with somebody who was not from your family, or someone that you're allowed to marry. You're not allowed to shake hands with somebody that you are allowed to marry. So in this case, therefore, now there's a case that if you kiss your wife or you kiss any other woman, if the kiss is a normal kiss to your wife or your sister or your mother or whatever, or your daughter, and you're just telling her bye-bye, or you're welcoming them or whatever, that's a normal kiss actually. You don't feel anything with that. So it doesn't do anything. It doesn't nullify your wudu. But if you felt pleasure with your wife or with a foreign woman, that nullifies your wudu because it's a type of touching. Now, if you kiss on the mouth, you kiss your wife on the mouth, or you kiss any other woman on your mouth, and that's haram actually. For your wife, it's halal. For a foreign woman, it's haram. That would nullify wudu immediately, no matter you felt or you didn't feel anything. Because normally you should feel pleasure when you kiss on the mouth. Okay? And then he says, إلطاف مرأة كذا مس الذكر والشك في الحداث كفر من كفر. A woman touching inside her vagina. Look, and we're not supposed to be shied when we're studying what concerns us in our religion. So let us imagine that this is the vagina. This is the vagina. If the woman touches it up from outside, that is like touching your skin, her skin, I mean. So that doesn't mean anything. But when she puts her finger inside it, that means she might get excited. And that's why that nullifies the wudu. For a man, when he touches his penis with his hand or his fingers, therefore he gets excited or doesn't get excited. Penis leads to nullifying the man's wudu. So a man touching his penis with his palm or the edges of the fingers, but if he touches it with this or his laps or whatever, that doesn't mean anything, okay? Become impure and becoming a kafir, wa'iyadhu billah. What do you mean doubt? That means you, before you prayed, you doubted that did you perform your wudu or you didn't perform it. In this case, all scholars say that you have to repeat your wudu. But you knew that you knew that you didn't perform your wudu. I mean, you knew that you performed wudu, but you doubted. Did you nullify your wudu? Did something go out of you? In this case, the Malikis only say that you have to go and repeat your wudu so that you pray and you're innocent from anything. Okay? But the others say no. No, as long as you're sure that you performed wudu, you don't keep on doubting about things that you're just imagining or you don't have any proof about them. Then he says, after he finished all these things, the 16 things that nullify the wudu. Yeah, the last one is if somebody apostatizes from Islam, Allah al-afiyah. We ask Allah refuge, subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he apostatized from Islam. So in this case, he came back to Islam, he has to repeat his wudu because when somebody apostatizes, that nullifies all of his actions. All of his actions, he has to repeat them all, subhanAllah. This is the Maliki ruling about this. Then he says, وَيَجِبُ اسْتِبْرَاءُ الْأَخْبَثَيْنِ مَعْ سَلْتِي وَنَتْرِ ذَكَرٍ وَالشَّدَّدَ. It is obligatory to free the two places of filth. The two places, your bottom and your penis or her vagina. Both of them have to be free from filth. Of the last remains of urine and excrements. Excrements, and to apply the pressure on the penis and shake it, but not excessively. What do you mean? That means you just do like this. Don't start pulling it and making a lot of things like that. So that would lead to affect your body. And that would lead you to become always doubting and you become sick. And the scholars say, actually, the urine is inside the penis is like the milk inside the breast. If you keep on asking for it, it'll keep on leaking. So don't exaggerate in these things. Don't exaggerate. Just clean your penis and that's it. Then he says, this is the first type of purifying yourself. It's called listinja. Listinja, that means using water. Now you are allowed to use tissues or stones or whatever if you want. Even if you have water, you're allowed to do it in some cases. I'm going to make it here. He says, وَجَازَ الْإِسْتِجْمَارُ مِنْ بَوْلِ ذَكَرٍ كَغَائِطٍ لَمَا كَثِيرًا انْتَشَرَ. It is permitted to use only stone or tissues to clean urine from the penis of a man, male, or else the female is not allowed to do that. She has to use water. And to clean oneself of excrements with them, as long as it has not spread excessively. That means it became out of the anus. When it goes out, that means you have to clean it. You're not allowed just use a tissue and clean it if it goes out. But if it's normal, it doesn't go out, you can just use a tissue and clean yourself, no matter you are a male or a female. So, male is allowed to use tissues to clean his penis when he urines. Female is not allowed to do that. Male and female, both of them are allowed to use tissues or stones to clean themselves when they defecate, as long as it doesn't go and spread out of their bottom, okay? Beyond the anus itself, okay? And in this case, when we say you are allowed to use that for urine, that means you're not allowed to use water to clean, you're not allowed to use tissues or stones to clean the pre-semen or the semen or whatever of the other things, because that needs water to be cleaned, okay? After he finished the things that nullify the wudu, that means we finished all what has to do with wudu. Now we're going to go to a new section concerning ghusl. Ghusl means washing your whole body. Washing your whole body. And as we mentioned in the wudu, we mentioned obligations, and then things that are strongly or that are preferable, and things that after that are either not preferable or whatever. That goes in every chapter. So it says here, فصل فروض الغسل قصد يحتضر فور عموم الدلك تخليل الشعر. That means section, the new section. The fard, obligations of the ghusl are, what are the things that are obligatory in the ghusl. The ghusl means washing your whole body. What are the things that if you don't do them, therefore you don't have any ghusl? Well, these are 4 things. They are that one, intent be present. That means you have a niyyah. That means your intention. So you have the intention to make ghusl. What is this ghusl? Is it only clean yourself? Is it because you are in janaba? Is it because she finished her period? Is it because you're doing Jum'ah ghusl? What is it? That needs intention. Or else, if you don't have intention, it's as if you didn't do anything. So the intention is very important, because it differentiates between a normal ghusl that you do, but you're washing your body, you have a shower, that's it. Or it's a worshiping shower. A worshiping shower, that's something else. That's why you need to differentiate between the intentions, okay? So, the second thing is that one complete the various elements of the ghusl, one after each another, without interruption. Without interruption. What do you mean by without interruption? That means you can't do part of your body and then go and do something else and come back completing. Or you wash half of your body and then after eating or drinking or whatever, you come back and you complete. No, you have to make it without any interruption. Sure that water penetrates the hair to the skin. Yes. So now you have to wash all your outside body, even your skin. All your skin has to be washed. So this is where you differentiate between wudu, ablution, and ghusl, the shower. What is the difference? The wudu, you just wash your face and you just pass on your beard. But this, you have to put water inside your beard to wash it, and inside your hair to wash it. That's why. Now this is okay. What if a woman has her hair tied, or a man has his hair tied? As long as it's not so stuck or has some ropes on it or something like that, both of them are not supposed to open it. You can just put water and keep on rinsing it until the water enters all your hair, until until the water penetrates all the hair, until the water penetrates all the hair. And then he says, and here he's insisting on reaching to all the outside parts. So he says, فَتَابِعِ الْخَفِيَّ مِثْلَ الرُّكْبَتَيْن وَلِبْ. And see that the water reaches the recesses of the body, and falls of the skin, like behind the knees and the armpits and the junction of the things and the buttocks. So that means between the buttocks. So all these parts, you have to keep on seeing them so that the water would reach there, or else that means the water didn't reach all your skin, and that would lead to that means that you didn't complete your wudu, your ghusl, and that would lead to that your prayer won't be accepted. So what if actually you're fat and you couldn't reach to some parts of it? So he said here, وَصِلِّ مَا عَسُرَ بِالْمِنْدِيلِ وَنَحْوِهِ كَالْحَبْلِ وَالتَّوْكِيلِ. And reach those parts which are difficult of access with a cloth or the like. For example, a rope, or have someone else to do it. So the parts that you can't, your hand didn't reach to, you try to have, for example, a piece of cloth that you can use it by your two hands in your back, or something like that. Or if your wife can help you, especially in the parts that nobody's allowed to see them except your wife. Or if it's only your back, you can have a friend or whatever can help you do those parts. Yeah. Then he says here, after finishing the obligations, he went to the sunan, the preferable parts that you have to do, the preferable things that you have to do in your ghusl. Says, سنانه مضمضة غسل اليدين بدءا والاستنشاق أو ثقب الأذنين. Its sunnas are rinsing the mouth. So actually rinsing the mouth is not part of the ghusl, according to the Maliki jurisprudence. And beginning the ghusl by washing one's hands. So you say Bismillah, you start with your hands, and then you rinse your mouth. You sniff your nose in the beginning, sniffing up water into the nose, and wiping inside one's ear hole. And then you wash your hair, and then you put your hand inside your ear, so that the water reaches all those parts. So these are the parts of wudu. These are the parts of the wudu. It's as if you're starting by wudu, and you keep on doing these things. Then, after this, he spoke about the things that are recommended, not strongly preferable, but recommended. Like he says, مندوبه البدء بغسله لذا تسمية تثليث رأسه كذا تقديم أعضاء الوضوء قلة ما بدء بأعلى ويمين خذهما. It says, it's recommended to begin by washing away any filth. You know, if you're going to make ghusl, that means maybe something came out of you. You discharged semen or something like that. So all these things, you have to wash them before you start the ghusl. And make intention that when you wash your private parts, that's part of the ghusl, so that it won't go out of the ghusl. So he starts he washes his private part in the beginning, and she washes her private parts in the beginning. He washes his penis actually, and she washes her vagina. So say the Bismillah. Yeah, before you start, you say Bismillah, like in wudu. You say Bismillah starting to wash one's head 3 times. Yeah, you wash your head 3 times. Are you allowed to do it more than 3 times? The Prophet ﷺ had long hair. He had a lot of hair. His beard was a big beard, even though he used to use only 3 washes on his head. 3 washes on his head. And it's not permissible to exaggerate in using water when you're doing wudu or when you're doing ghusl. To first wash the parts of the body which one would wash for the wudu. So you start as if you're doing wudu in the beginning, but leave your leg until the end. Don't wash your leg. So you make everything except the leg. Use a little water. Don't exaggerate. The Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu from mud, and mud is this, 2 hands full of water. And sa', he used to wash with sa', which is 4 hands like this to 5. So he used to 4 hands are sa', and he used to use until 5 hands. So it's a small bucket. He washes all his body, and he does his ghusl with that bucket. With the little water, beginning with the top and from the right. Yeah, the top is more preferable than the low, and the right side is preferable than the left side. So to take notice what? Yes, he says here, notice that when you made your wudu, be aware to not break or nullify your wudu. He says, تبدأ في الغسل بفرج ثم كف عن مسه ببطن أو جنب الأكف أو أصبع ثم إذا مسسته أعد من الوضوء ما فعلته. So begin the ghusl by washing the private parts, and make you wash them that you're raising the janaba from them, and don't go back to touch them, because after that you're going to start making your wudu. So when you make your wudu and you touch them again, that nullifies the wudu. And he says that be aware, he says, then avoid touching them with the palm, the palm of the hand, or the sides of the palm, the sides here. These parts, be aware that you don't touch the penis with them. And for the woman, she doesn't touch with her fingers inside her vagina. Okay? Or the inside of the vagina, the fingers, and if you do touch them, then repeat that part of the wudu you have already done. So you have to repeat the wudu again, because you nullified your wudu by touching your penis, because touching the penis is one of the things that nullify the wudu, as we had mentioned before. Why should we make this, what obliges us, what makes the ghusl obligatory, what are the things that make ghusl obligatory? He says, مُجِيبُهُ حَيْضُ النِّفَاسُ نِنْزَلْ مَغِيبُ كَمْرَةٍ بِفَرْجِ نِسْجَلْ. Ghusl becomes obligatory because of menstruation. That means when the woman finishes her period and she is pure. And how does she know that she's pure? She knows that she's pure by 2 things. The first thing, if she puts something inside her vagina and she discovers that it doesn't have any reddish blood on it, doesn't have any reddish color on it. The second thing, some women have something white coming out of their vagina, which is the end of the period. So in this case, if they see that, one of these 2 things, therefore she's pure, so she has to make her ghusl. And the same thing for the blood after childhood, bleeding after childhood. The same thing. So she's pure by the same. All what we said about menstruation is the same about the bleeding after childhood. Emission of sperm, That means discharging semen. Discharging semen. No matter you discharge because you were thinking about something, or you discharge because you started getting excited by masturbation acts or whatever, or anything like that that makes you get excited and discharge semen. Or you had a wet dream. So these are two types. You might have this when you are, and this is for men and women, be aware. Behold, these are for men and women. Both of them can discharge semen when they're excited. When they're excited, both of them can discharge semen, and that leads to make a ghusl to your whole body. Then he says the penis penetrating the vagina or penetration whatsoever. What do you mean by whatsoever? Now look, we have some actions that are permissible, that you're allowed to do them, legal. That means when you approach your wife, or when you, how am I going to say, when you intercourse your wife from her vagina, that is something that is halal. So what happens after that? What happens after that is that you have to have ghusl, no matter you discharge or you didn't discharge. But when the head, the head of the penis, not the whole penis, only the head of the penis enters. When it enters, that means you have to perform ghusl, and you can't pray nor do any other things that I'm going to mention right now unless you make your ghusl. And this is the same thing for the wife. So if her husband puts the head of his penis inside her vagina, that means she now has to make ghusl. She has to make ghusl. Now what if that happened? Okay, what if that happened to a foreign woman? That means he committed adultery or he fornicated. If he did that, that means he committed adultery and he fornicated. And that has another punishments. We're not speaking about the punishment. We're speaking about what's going to happen. The same thing we're speaking about for the praying and purifying himself. It's the same thing. What if he intercoursed his wife, or a foreign wife, or a man, live or dead, from the back? That's haram. It is haram, but all of these cases lead to make ghusl, as I said. So this is what he meant here. This is what he meant here. Now we're speaking about the scholars say no matter the one that you did that to was a human being, male or female, life or dead, and even for animals. Now these are some of these cases all of these cases are haram except the first case. But all of these cases are not only haram, are a major sin, and they have their punishments that have to be implemented in an Islamic state. So that, or in an Islamic court. So that's another story. We might study that, inshallah, later on, if we study books that are larger than this book. So now, what are the things that cause you, or what are the things that you're not allowed to do unless you make the ghusl? He says, وَالْأَوَّلَانِ مَنَعَ الْوَطْآ إِلَى غُسْلٍ وَلَا خِرَانِ قُرْآنًا حَلَا وَالْكُلُّ مَسْجِدًا وَسَهُوَ الْاغْتِسَالِ مِثْلُ وُضُوئِكَ وَلَمْ تُعِدْ مُوَالٍ. He says, as for the first two, intercourse is forbidden until the ghusl is made. Yes, now we said that, not the two intercourse, no. That's, now he says the first two things. What are the first two things? The first two things are our menstruation period. If your wife finishes her period, you're not allowed to intercourse her unless she makes her ghusl. Even if she's pure, yes, until she makes her ghusl, and then you're allowed to intercourse her. Okay, and the second thing is the bleeding after childbirth. The same thing. You're not allowed to intercourse the wife until she makes her ghusl. What are the two second things? The two second things are وَلَا خِرَانِ قُرْآنًا حَلَى. The two other things are when you discharge semen or when you intercourse your wife. So in these two cases, your wife or whatever, as we said before. So in these cases, what is not permissible for you? It's not permissible for you to recite Quran. It's not permissible for you to recite Quran, and therefore, the translation here is wrong. Actually, as intercourse is forbidden until the ghusl is made. No, it's not. It's right. For the first two, that means menstruation period and bleeding after birthhood. And in the case of the last two, which are discharging semen and discharging semen and intercoursing your wife, so in this case you're not allowed to recite the Quran. Your recitation of the Quran is forbidden. وَالْكُلُّ مَسْجِدٍ. And in the case of all four, entering the masjid is forbidden. You're not allowed, the woman who is still in her period, she's not allowed to enter the masjid. And the man who is in the case of janaba, he's not allowed to enter the masjid until both of them, she finishes her period and has ghusl, and he makes ghusl. He doesn't have any period, but he has to make ghusl. Okay, so and if you have been negliging, they have overlooked a part of the skin when washing. For example, you forgot one of your limbs, washing one of your limbs, or washing one of the parts of your body, and then you remembered, and you were close to you just remembered immediately, so you have to wash that part, the part that you forgot. What if you had a long time, and you prayed. If you prayed, you have to repeat your prayer and only wash the part that you forgot. What if it was close? You only wash the part, you don't wash it and wash what is after it, as we did, as we said in the ghusl, as we said in the wudu, sorry. So he says here, and if you have been neglecting and have overlooked a part of the skin when washing, then make it up immediately, as in the case of the wudu. But you don't have to repeat washing the parts already washed after what you had omitted. So the parts that you didn't you omitted, don't wash them again. So I mean, you only wash the part that you didn't do, but what are after it, you don't do them again, as we said in the wudu. And this is what this was the last thing that he mentioned in al-ghusl. Now he is going to mention, if in case you didn't find water and you had to raise up your major or minor impurity, and you didn't find water, or you found water but you couldn't get the water or you couldn't use the water. So you didn't find water, or you found it but you couldn't use it because, for example, it's in a well and you don't have a bucket to raise it up, or there is water but you're sick, and if you use the water, your disease will increase. So in this case, it is permissible for you to do tayammum. Tayammum means going towards. Towards what? Towards the dry ablution. It's called, we call it dry ablution. So he says here, section regarding tayammum. That means dry ablution. So he says, فَصْلٌ لِخَوْفِ ضُرِّنَا وَعَدَمِ مَا عَوِضْ مِنَ الطَّهَارَةِ التَّيَمُّمَ. Section, if you fear illness or there's a lack of water, then you do tayammum instead of the usual purification. So you couldn't use the water, or the water exists but you couldn't reach it, or there's no water. In this case, you have to raise up your impurity, no matter it's major or minor. So you do this tayammum. وصلي فرضا واحدا وإن تصل جنازة وسنة به يحل. It says, and one may perform only one fard salah, one regular prayer. So it's Fajr, for example, you pray only Fajr. Dhuhr, you only pray Dhuhr. Asr, you only pray Asr. Maghrib, you don't pray several salawats with one tayammum, no. And if performed after this, then the janazah and sunnah salats are permitted also. Now, for example, you prayed Asr, and then there's a funeral prayer on somebody who died. You are allowed to pray it because you had tayammum for the salah. But are you allowed to have tayammum to pray on somebody who died, and there are others to pray? Yet no. They say no. If you just made the tayammum for that prayer, no. Why? Because it's not fard ayn, it's fard kifaya. So if the others pray, that's it. You don't need to pray. Because they say, the Malikis and others say, that tayammum is an excuse. And when you use an excuse, it has to be limited. Don't use it open, because it's limited. It's only an excuse. Okay, of course, this is what the Malikis say, but I'm not giving you my own opinion. Now we're just studying what the Maliki school says. Yes. And are you allowed to pray sunnahs, for example, several rak'ahs with that? Yes, if you prayed the regular prayer, the obligatory prayer, you're allowed to pray after it the sunnahs with that tayammum. But if you made tayammum only to pray sunnah, no, because it's an excuse, so don't open it. Then the janazah and sunnah salah are permitted also. He says here, وَجَازَ لِلنَّفْلِ ابْتِدًا وَيَسْتَبِيحْ الْفَرْضَ لَلْجُمْعَةَ حَاضِرٌ صَحِيحٌ. Begin with nafila salah when only nafila are performed, as it is permitted to begin with the fard salah, but not the Jum'ah for the healthy person who is residence. So the person who is residence, healthy, not sick, he's not allowed to pray a sunnah or nafila with tayammum. He's not allowed to pray janazah. He's not allowed to pray salat al-Jumu'ah. He is only to pray the regular prayers. Why? Because it is only an excuse. So nafila, it's not obligatory, so why should you pray nafila? Unless you did tayammum for faridah. Janazah, it's fard kifaya, so if others pray, that's it. What if there's no one except you? Okay, and you are a resident. You're not abroad. Therefore, you have to do tayammum to pray nafila, to pray salat al-janazah on that person that is dead, because it's only you to pray on him. You're not going to bury him without praying on him. Okay? Now, are you allowed of dhuhr? So you can pray dhuhr. This is what the Malikis say, actually. There are other opinions about that, but this is the well-known opinion. So only nafila are performed, as it is permitted to begin with the fard salah, but not the Jumu'ah for the healthy person who is residence, because there is salat al-dhuhr, so he can pray dhuhr without Jumu'ah. That's what they say. Fara'id tayammum. What are the obligations of tayammum? فروضه مسحك وجها واليدين للكوع والنية أولى الضربتين. So we have three obligations. Niyyah. Niyyah is the intention, and rubbing your face and rubbing your hands. So the obligatory aspects of tayammum are to wipe one's face and hands up to the wrists, this here, to the wrists. The intention, the first of two striking of the earth. So this is like this. You do like this. You put your hand like this. You do like this. And you rub your face. So the second hit is not فريضة. It's sunnah. ثم الموالاة صعيد طهر وصلها به وقت حضر. Also, obligatory is performing the actions of the tayammum consecutively, as we said in the wudu and as we said in the ghusl, without interpretation, without interruption, not interpretation, without interruption, using pure earth. What is pure earth? It can be sand, it can be thick, dry mud, it can be anything that is normally from the earth. It can be tissues, it can be stones, all these things that is not normal, you're not allowed to use it. So for example, wood, the most accepted opinion is not to use wood. Using the walls that are painted, no, you're not allowed to do that. Using the grounds that are painted and they works on them, no. Anything that is pure, the most widest madhab that agrees to make tayammum with a lot of things. Yes. Performing the tayammum immediately before the salah and within the time of the salah. So after you hear the adhan, so if you make tayammum before adhan, no. If you make it after adhan, yes. If you make it and stay a long time and then pray, no. You have to make it and pray. So these are the obligations of a tayammum as the Malikis decided. And then he gave us here some cases here. He says, آخره للراجي أيس فقط أوله والمتردد الوسط. Now look, they say that one should delay it if one hopes to find water. This is preferable. It's not something obligatory. So if you hope to find water, why should you go and make tayammum before searching for the water? You hope to find water, water's coming. So wait a second until the end of the time. And when you are squeezed, therefore just make tayammum and pray if you don't find water. This is the one that hopes to find water in the beginning of the time, only if one has given up hope of finding it. If one finds oneself waving between the two sects, or the two states, if one finds oneself wavering between the two states, then that means he's not sure. He might have this, he might have this. So let him just wait till the half of the time. Wait until the half of the time. So therefore, he says here, if one finds oneself wavering between the two states, then perform it in the middle of the prescribed time for the salah. So if you are wishing, but you're not sure, you have 50-50. Therefore, pray in the half of the time. But if you give up, why should you wait for what? What should you wait for? Therefore, pray. So if one finds oneself wavering between the two states, then perform it in the middle of the prescribed time for the salah. Okay. What are the preferable things for the tayammum? There are several preferable things for the tayammum. He says, سُنَنُهُ مِسْحُهُمَا لِلْمِرْفَقِ وَضَرْبَةُ الْيَدَيْنِ تَرْتِيبٌ بَقِي. Okay, its sunnahs are wiping one's forearms up to the elbows, striking twice to the hand and observing the order. Okay, so now we have four things that are preferable to do. What are they? The first one is wiping your hands until until the elbows. So you wipe your hand until the elbows, and this is the preferable thing. But what is obligatory? Only the hands, the palm to the wrists. Second thing, you hit your hand twice. First time and the second time, you rub your face and then you rub your hands. So therefore, the second hits like this. So you rub your hands, and then you hit it again, and you rub your face. That's it. So these are the sunnahs. Why do they say sunnah? Because there are some narrations, but they're weak, that speak about the second hit and the second using your passing your hand until the elbows. And we have several Sahaba that done that. So therefore, they consider it as sunnah. What is preferable or recommended? مندوبه تسمية وصف حميد ناقضه مثل الوضوء ويزيد. And what nullifies it? He says it is recommended to say Bismillah in the beginning and to wipe one's hands in the praiseworthy manner. What is the praiseworthy manner? It's like this. It's like this. You hit your hand like this, and then you start with your face. And so you the whole face, you see? And then you hit it again, and then you take off your ring. They insist on this, and say you even you take off your and so you go like this, and then you go like this. So this is the preferable way, actually, to make your tayammum according to the Maliki school, Maliki jurisprudence. What are the things that nullify the tayammum? Things that nullify tayammum are all things that nullify wudu. So that which breaks the tayammum is the same as which breaks the wudu, with the additional condition of what? وجود ماء قبل أن صلى وإن بعد يجد يعيد بوقت إن يكن كخائف اللص وراج قدم وزامن مناولا قد علم. He says the availability of water before doing the salah. Allahu Akbar. All of a sudden they said, oh, we found the water. That's it. You did what you have to do. So don't cut your salah. Keep on praying. Except in cases. What are the cases he says here? If one finds water afterwards, then one repeats the salah within the time. If one that means in the time, anything in the time means it's preferable. It's not obligatory. Anytime they say repeat in the time, that means it's preferable, not obligatory. Remember this. So he says, who are the ones that repeat? The ones that repeat is if you you made tayammum and you had time to search for water, but you didn't search for it. And you expected to find it, but you decided to make tayammum instead of waiting to the last time. Then one repeats the salah within the time if one state is like weird. You said, okay, I can't go there. There's an animal, there's a dog, or there's a... So when you're afraid of something, sometimes you imagine things more than they happen, actually. So it's just an imagination that they might bite you, they might... So therefore, it is preferable for you to repeat wudu and pray again the salah. But if you don't do it, nothing, you're not blamed. Okay. Or entrains hopes of finding water, but entertains hopes of finding water, but who nevertheless does tayammum before the final time and then finds water, or the person who is incapable and who has no one to hand him the water. I mean, he's sick, he's on his bed, and he didn't find anybody to help him. He just makes tayammum. I'm so sorry to tell you that the majority of people nowadays, they can make tayammum, and there are lots of people near them that they can just tell them, please go and get me some water to make tayammum, to make wudu. But they don't do that. They just prefer to make tayammum, or actually they're not allowed to do that. And I saw a lot of people like that, even scholars. Some of them are scholars, and that is a problem, actually. Wrong. And there are some people that just, if they just feel a bit cold, they just go doing tayammum. That's wrong. Why should you make tayammum when the weather is cold a little bit? Go and put the water on